Okay, welcome back everybody. Good. Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and finish up 9.4. What you're going to finish up 9.3 and start on 9.4. And then you have Connect Math 9195 due tonight. You have Lab 5 due tomorrow night. And then Thursday you have 9.3 due. Sunday, I want you guys to get 9.4 due by Sunday so that you can be prepared for the exam on Tuesday. If you do not get the Lab 5 done tomorrow night, you can turn it in by next Thursday, late for full credit. So it's a little bit of a leeway, just because I know you guys have the exam coming up. Okay. Exam 3 is on next Tuesday, covering chapters 7 through 9. I'll have a review session on Monday from 3 to 4:30 and from 6:30 to 8 o'clock on Zoom. It's the same as my office hour meeting number, so you can just use that. All right, exam 3. Rosa, do you want to go ahead and read it?
Sure. Exam 3. You may take it at 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or 7:30 on April 21st, but it must be at one of these times. Let me know if you are taking it at a different time than your class. Do the practice test for one exam point in Canvas under quizzes, which must be done in the Chrome browser. You also need a webcam. If you do not have a webcam, email me for the alternate test and what time you want to do it so you can Zoom on your phone with me. You must take this practice exam before April 21st. If you do not, and then cannot get Proctorio working correctly, then you will have to take a 0 on the exam.
Right.
Using laptop webcam.
Oh, that's okay. That's for me. That part's for me, actually. Thank you. So yes, so you absolutely have to take this practice exam before April 21st. That's worth 1 point. It's 1 point of your test. Your test is 100 points total. It's basically logging in, writing down one sentence, getting the testing to make sure that your webcam works with Proctorio, everything's working well, and then uploading it. So taking a picture of your work and uploading it. And again, if you don't have a webcam, email me, and then you can use your phone as a webcam, and we can use Zoom on that, and I'll give you the alternate way of doing that to make sure that that works before we get into the actual exam itself. How do you get there? What does it look like? If you go to assignments, this is not what I meant. If you go to assignments, let's try that again. There it is. So if you go to quizzes, actually, I think it's under quizzes. It's also maybe under assignments. It is at the bottom of the assignments, but go to quizzes, which is somewhere down here at the bottom. Then this will pop up, and you'll see the test of Proctorio remotely proctored. You won't see this middle one until you email me and tell me you don't have a webcam, and then I will open it up for you. And then after you take the quiz, then see this last one here. It says upload results of test of Proctorio. That's where you take pictures of your papers and upload them one at a time. So upload a file, take a picture, upload the file, and then say add another file. So then take a picture and upload your next one, and then keep doing that until you get to all your pages. So this is where you upload your results down at the bottom. The first one is your test. The middle one will only, like I said, will only happen if you don't have a webcam. I'll enable that one. And the last one is where you upload your Proctorio tests themselves. Oops. Oh, no. Wait. Okay, good. Perfect. I will, okay, so, Eduardo, do you want to go ahead and read this part here? Eduardo? Or Sterling? You want to read this part for him?
Yeah, sure thing. Starting from...
Extra credit?
Yeah. Come to my office. Yeah, extra credit exams, 3 and 2. Come to my office hours after Tuesday's class and show me your complete quizzes and chapter notes for up to 2 points extra credit. Make sure you do this by April 24th. Canvas updated with importance and
right? So I kind of redid Canvas because people had some questions about, like, when do I need which handouts? So I created a schedule of which handouts are needed for the class from now to the end of the semester, so you can kind of log on there and you can see it. These have been up there already. But here's where I kind of put all the information and links that you guys need if you need the withdraw form or the PNP form, how to write in PDFs, or information on picking up handouts at my house. Incidentally, if you need your T-table and the notes, you know, the magic formula sheet, and you don't have access to a printer, then email me and if you can't pick them up in Tracy or can't pick them up at my house, email me your address and I will mail you a copy. It's easy. It's one stamp, piece of cake. So, but you do need to have them. You have to have the T-table. You have to have this one, and I'll probably just email you the other 2 tables we need the rest of the semester as well. So just go ahead and do that if you don't have them printed out, because you will absolutely need those. And there's other information on the exams all right in here as well. Also here, like the notes, T-table that you need, the magic formula sheet that you need. Just click on those links. And then down here, the next one down here is the PowerPoints and the links to all the videos. So all the stuff that I'm recording, those are all, the links to all those videos are down in there. Okay, good. And then we've got exam 3. So this one covers chapter 7, 8, 9. Study guide is in Canvas under study guides. That's the best way to study, is that study guide. So go to under study guide. The study guide will have everything that you need to know for the exam will be in there, and also all the solutions are also posted in there as well. I do have some, I think, practice exam problems, which are in the notes, but those are just for us to go through in class and in the review session. So don't do those on your own. We'll do those in class, and on the review session, I'll go through the answers in next class or in the review session. You're also going to need, like I said, your T-table, magic formula sheet, half page of written notes. You're allowed that. And you need 6 blank pages that have your class time, so you guys 7:30, your initials, and your W number written at the top. So get out 6 blank sheets of paper, write those across the top, and then those are going to be where you're going to put your answers. Because and I'll tell you, like, one page I want just problem number 1 on there. The next page I want problems 2 and 3 on there. The next page I want just problem 4 on there, because that way when I grade them, it's all, I can kind of flip through them, they're all nice and consistent. And also, if you're taking the exam at a different time, write that also. For example, 5 o'clock class, taking it at 2 o'clock. That way I have all the information I need. You have to email me if you're taking it at a different time, because I have to add you to that Canvas course, because it's all going through Canvas. It's online now. Janessa, can you read this last bottom? You know what? I'll read it. It's okay. So once you start the exam, you'll have 5 minutes to scan the area in front of you. So kind of get your webcam so I can see all the papers you're using and stuff like that. And then get your camera position so it shows your hands. And I'll show you what I mean by that in just a minute. If you're using a webcam attached to your computer, I suggest maybe making a raised platform area and putting a couple large books or magazines or a board or anything that will raise it up a little bit. Obviously, if the books they should be closed and not open. And I'll tell you what I'm talking about when I'm doing that. So stop share. So here, I'm moving my computer back a little bit, and then I'm going to take this book, right, and I'm going to set it down in front of me, and I'm going to take another book, and I'm going to set it down in front of me as well. They're white, so it shows up as being dark. And then you don't have to point down that much. Just point down a little bit so that I can see, even less than that is okay, just so I can see, if I can see your hands, just your palms, then I'm kind of at the top of your hands, and that's fine. I don't need to see all your fingers. This is all okay in here. I just need to be able to see, not make sure that you're not, using your cell phone or, something else. And that's fine. So then you can still read what's on the screen and still be able to do your exam. If you move it back even further, then that's even a little bit easier, because then I can kind of see all the papers that you might have in front of you as you get them and use them and, you know, pick up stuff. That's a little bit easier for me, and you don't have to be as tilted down as well. So that might be a little bit better. Right here, right now, there's approximately 20 inches between me and the base of my laptop, so it's tilted just a little bit, so I can still read the screen just fine. I have plenty of working space. So that would be probably the best option, right? But I'll kind of leave that to you. But my requirements are I need to just, you know, kind of be able to see your hands, and if you pick something up, you know, don't go doing stuff off camera like this. You grab your sheet, bring it here so I can see it, and maybe just flash it to me real quick, and then, you know, you can use your tea table or your whatever you need. Someone asked me about, can I hear you? Yes. So if you have to do something like you drop a pencil and you got to reach down and get a pencil, then you can say, hey, Ms. Young, I dropped my pencil, and, you know, reach down quickly and grab it. You know, don't spend like an hour down there or something like that. That's a little suspicious, but, you know, just go ahead and you can totally talk, and it will record your audio as well. Okay. No, I don't need to see your face. I just need to see your hands, right? Because I've seen your face in the beginning, and then once you tilt down, you can't magically switch to a different body. That would be a neat trick. So yeah, I don't need to see your face. I just need to see your hands, what you're doing. Okay. Excellent. Great. So now we are talking. Let me pull up this other thing here.
Professor, somebody asked a question about calculators.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So you need a TI. You do need a TI 83 or 84. You have to have one of those. Who's the question? Where's my chat? Where's my chat? No, not you. Chat? Oh. Shoot. Okay, so who is near... If anybody needs a calculator, email me, and we'll figure out how to get you one. And it's possible you don't need it for this exam. So if you need a calculator, email me, and we'll talk about it, and we'll try to figure out, you know, if I can get one to you, or, you know, how we want to work that. I think Chapter 6 exams, you're really going to need one. Chapter 7, 8, 9, you actually don't need one except for the extra credit. So I might have to find an alternate extra credit if you don't have one. So email me if you don't have one. Okay. So here we're talking about this last part. This is inferential statistics. So we've taken our survey or our sample, and we've gotten data. We've gotten our X-bar and all that other stuff in our S. And then we have to figure out what the goal is. Why do we do this experiment in the first place? If we don't know our mean and we're trying to estimate it, then we take a confidence interval. That's Chapter 7. If we think that our population somehow differs from the general population, then we take a sample of our population and compare that to the general population and see if they differ. So that's the hypothesis test, Chapter 8. And then the other thing that we're doing right now is we're looking at two samples and comparing them to see if they differ somehow. That's Chapter 9. So the first one we looked at was two proportions. So we have two different proportions we're going to compare. Remember, the null hypothesis is always, always, always no difference. In this case, no difference between the two populations. So the first proportion equals the second proportion. That's your H0 always for two proportions. It can also be written as P1 minus P2 equals 0. And take note of that because it's going to come up later on when we get to 9.4 today. So remember, P1 equals P2 is the same thing as P1 minus P2, the difference being 0. So that's step one. The other thing we have to do, which is unique for two sample proportions, is we have to find the pooled sample. In other words, if we took the two samples and mixed them into one giant pool, what would then be the proportion of that pool? So P bar is the pool if you mix them together. You take all the successes, x1 plus x2, divide it by all the n's, like the total number of people you have all together, n1 plus n2, and that's your P bar, right? How many total successes you have out of how many total people you have. And then Q bar is just 1 minus P bar. You have to calculate these in order to do the problem, right, for the test stat. remember that P is equal to X over N. Also, sometimes you get N and P, so then you have to find X. X is equal to N times P. Remember, X should be rounded to the nearest whole person, because you can't sample a portion of a person. The test stat is the other thing that changes in this. Everything else stays the same except for steps 1 and step 3. So this is your step 3. It's going to be this part right here, P hat 1 minus P hat 2 over this, but you can either use this one here, or you can use, this is what your book uses. This is what your notes use. Square root of P bar Q bar times parentheses 1 over N1 plus 1 over N2. Okay, so that's your test stat. I know it's your samples z-score. So here's the solution for quiz problem number 1. So we're saying that large denominations is less likely to be spent than smaller denominations. So P1 is going to be less than P2. So my H naught always is P1 equals P2. So then since my claim is not equals, then H1 becomes my claim. P1 is less than P2. That's my claim. Since H1 is my claim, I'm going to be using the word support for step 5. Whenever H1 is my claim, I use the word support. Whenever H0 is my claim, I use the word reject. All right, so then we find our P hat 1, which is 12 successes out of 46.261. We find our P hat 2, which is 27 out of 43. So that's my P hat 2.628. And then my P bar, I have a total of 12 plus 27 successes out of 46 plus 43 people. So 39 out of 89, which is 0.438. My Q bar is 1 minus that, which is 0.562. Okay, great. So now we move on to our step 2, critical value. This is a proportion, so easy peasy, Z table, proportion Z table. So I have alpha is 0.05, less than. If it's less than, that means it's left-tailed, so it's one-tailed. I'm going to draw my picture, a shade to the left, so it's one-tailed, Z, alpha 0.05. So I'm going to go to my T table, and it's one-tailed, 0.05, and a Z, so it's all the way at the bottom, 1.645. That's my T score. So it's going to be my critical value, 1.645, but it's negative because, again, it's left-tailed. So negative 1.645, shade to the left. And then I need to find my test stat. So it's going to be P hat 1 minus P hat 2 over square root of P bar Q bar times 1 over N1 plus 1 over N2. So 0.261 minus 0.628, negative 0.367. That's my numerator. On the bottom, I've got square root of 0.438 times 0.562 times 1 over 46 plus 1 over 43. So your calculator, you're going to work from the inside out to do this. And so this is my inside, and then of that inside, this is even more inside. So that's what I'm going to start with right inside. I'm going to start with this parentheses 1 over 46 plus 1 over 43. So we'll do that one first. So here I've got 1 divided by 46 plus 1 divided by 43. Enter, that's my parentheses. And then the next part is going to be work my way out, multiply by these two numbers. Since multiplying is commutative and associative, I can just multiply them. So times 0.438 times 0.562, and I get 0.0110. 08. And I want to take the square root of that, right? So I need the square root of that, so I'm going to raise it to the 1/2 power, right? So square rooting is same as raising it to the 1/2 power. 1/2 is 0.5, and that will give me 1.052. So that's where this denominator comes from. And then when I divide those, I get negative 3.489. Put that in here. My test set is negative 3.489, way out here. So it's completely in the guilty area. I totally had enough evidence to reject H0. It's absolutely guilty. So reject H0, which means I have enough evidence to, so rejecting H0 means you have enough evidence to support, because again, H1 is my claim, so I'm going to use the word support here. Support claim that, and then just say what your claim was, that money in larger denominations is less likely to be spent. Okay, questions about this one? Anyone? Questions,
I
comments?
have a question.
Yes, please.
For the test, we're going to have how many decimals? You're going to tell us how many decimals we're going to use, so we should...
3 sig figs is always going to be safe, I think. So if you had done 1.65 here and 3.49, you'd be fine. That'd be totally fine. And you might be off a little bit even, right? You might have had 3.48 or 3.49 or 3.50. That's all within 1%. That's less than 0.5% off, so that's all okay. As long as your numbers, as long as you show your work and I can see what you divided and you're good, then if you rounded to, but you should have at least 3 sig figs. Does that make sense? So don't make this 0.26 and don't make this 0.63. At least 3 sig figs. Does everybody understand what I'm saying?
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Good questions. Any other questions? Okay. So we're going to move on to means, talking about 2 means now. So we have 2 samples and their means. We're going to compare them. So each sample has its own X bar, has its own mu, it has its own S, it has its own N. And so our H0 here is going to be, again, H0 is always equals. So in this case, mu1 equals mu2. You could also write it as mu1 minus mu2. The difference is equal to 0. Right? So that's another way, which we're going to do actually in 9.4. We'll be doing it this way. So then if H0 is equals, then H1 has to be one of the other ones, either not equal to, greater than, or less than, depending upon what your claim is. A couple quick notes. Again, both samples need to be random samples. They have to be independent of each other, and they either have to be normal distributed or have a sample size larger than 30 or more. The other step that changes again, steps 2, 4, and 5 stay the same. It's just steps 1 and 3 that are different. So step 3, your test stat, is going to be this right here, x bar 1 minus x bar 2 over square root of s1 squared over n1 plus s2 squared over n2. Super straightforward. Here's the other thing you need to know or remember. The degrees of freedom we're going to use is just going to be the smaller n, because you're going to have 2 n's, right? You have n1 and n2. Use the smaller one and subtract 1 from it. That's going to be your degrees of freedom. It's not perfect, but that's what your book does, so we're going to use that for this one. Your magic formula sheet should say that. So if you take a look at your magic formula sheet, it should, here, I'll show you. Actually, it's right here. Perfect. So if you look at your magic formula sheet, remember degrees of freedom. This is for 2 means, hypothesis test, your test stat. Your degrees of freedom should be not this one. You should be crossing out that one and putting in the smaller n, whatever the smaller n was. Move that over so you guys can see it better. The smaller n minus 1. So whichever was smaller, that n minus that n, and subtract 1. So you have 2 n's. You'll notice here, and then you use that degrees of freedom on the t-table to find your critical value. That's step 2, right? That's where you use the degrees of freedom. You use a smaller n minus 1 as your degrees of freedom. You pop that into your t-table to find your critical value for means. The other thing you'll notice is that for the H0, it's going to be mu1 equals mu2, and this is your test stat formula we just talked about. This is a test stat formula we used in the last problem just a few minutes ago. It's also in there. So all your formulas are in here. All right, so here's your quiz problem number 2. Couple questions. Is this a proportion or a mean, guys? Is it a mean or proportion?
Mean.
It's a mean. How do you know? It says average right here, boom, right? It also says X bar. You have an X bar. You have an X bar and the word average, so totally a mean. Great. Now what's my sample size? What's my sample size? I sampled the number of sports offered by 50 colleges. So I go to 50 colleges. Does that mean I asked half of them about the men and half about the women, or what did I ask each college? So you go to a college, yeah. You go to college, you're going to ask them, how many male sports do you have? How many female sports do you have? So you're going to get the male sports from all 50 of those colleges, and you're going to get the female sports, the number of female sports they have from all 50 of those colleges. You're going to get both. So your N is going to be 50 for both. In this case, for both your N1 and your N2 are both going to be 50 in this case. All right, so I'm going to send you off and give you guys, let's say, 13 minutes to work